Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here. We are back with Rusty Dagger by Table Salt Games. Rusty Dagger is a solo adventure independent zine style game. The rules come in a single sheet of paper folded up into a little booklet. For $2 you get a booklet for creating your hero, a booklet for the core rules, and your first adventure Spire the Golem, which we went through last time. Not only that, but you can download 3 more booklets, each with an adventure from DriveThruRPG, and they cost 0 money. And I recently joined the Facebook group for this, and there's a whole bunch more on there. My $2 is doing a lot of work. So my hero Raskin the Reptile is moving on to his second adventure, Den of Rats. Den of Rats is for levels 1 through 2. I am still at level 1 because my first adventure didn't go great. There are a series of glorious successes and then a substantial setback at the end. But we are unperturbed. My hero is Raskin the Reptile and he is a mercenary. Or perhaps former mercenary. His previous mercenary company may have gotten eaten by a chimera. So people may think that he's dead, but he's out to prove them wrong with his trusty hammer and his gravelly voice. Not much has changed from last game. He still has a great swordsmanship skill with a +3 modifier. He has 10 starting health and a brawn of +1 for defense, and the rest of his stats range between not very good and pretty bad. He does have 3 small healing potions and a vial of acid, and that's about it. He's got himself a room at the inn in the town of Clemstead when he hears a big commotion in the market outside. Apparently this town has a Ratman infestation, and a bunch of Ratman bandits are raiding the marketplace. Sounds like a situation that could make me some money, so I grab my hammer and head for the door. So we're straight on to our first combat challenge. The first thing that we do is we set up our obstacles. In this case, we've got 2 large low obstacles. Those are those double set of market tables, and 4 small low obstacles, barrels and crates. The terrain gets placed randomly, and it didn't end up in an ideal spot. I made a big barrier right in front of Raskin's deployment area, and then a nice clump of terrain in the bad guy deployment area. The issue is that that's going to slow Raskin down and speed the Ratmen up. You can see one of the Ratmen would have deployed on the market table, and so he gets pushed forward a couple squares. And that's bad because I'm trying to protect a woman and a child who have been caught in the marketplace. Their deployment is set, so they're kind of stranded out in no man's land, separated by that big clump of terrain. Worse yet, the child got pushed a little bit forward because of one of those barrels. So they are a lot closer to the Ratmen than I would like, and they are not great fighters. All their stats are 0, meaning that they roll 2d6 -2 for everything they attempt to do, attacking or defending. And they have 4 health, which isn't great. The Ratmen all have 3 health, which isn't too bad, and their action dice are d8 +2. So they're quite a bit better than the zombies that we faced in the last game. I don't think they'll pose a very big challenge to Raskin, but they're a serious threat to the civilians. Their average roll is going to be a 6.5, and the civilians is going to be a 5. So the woman and the child are going to be my companions for this fight, and my goal is to defeat all the Ratmen. 3 action counters go in the bag, and we're ready to start. We draw a counter from the bag, and we get a bad guy token, meaning the Ratmen are going to go first. That's not great. I was kind of hoping to be able to activate first and run some of my people away. But we have to activate the closest Ratman, and that means that it is going to charge forward and get right next to the woman in the marketplace. She's stuck in combat now. The rat goes to attack, rolls a 1 on its d8 though, so with +2 gets a grand total of 3, and the woman rolls pretty well. Rolls 8 on 2d6, -2 equals 6, much more than 3. She defends against the Ratmen. Great, maybe this won't be so bad. Next token is good guy token, so Raskin the Reptile has to get into the action. I could try and break away the civilians, but the Ratmen get to attack them on their way out, and if they hit and cause a wound, then the civilians can't move. I think that's just giving the rats free attacks. I don't think it's a good idea. I think my hero has to come to the rescue. So he moves his 4 squares around the terrain on the south side of the board. Second counter drawn is also a good guy token, which is great. I'm going to activate Raskin again. He takes another move and charges into the flank of that lead Ratman. Now he gets to attack. The Ratman rolls an 8 on his d8, so that gives him a total of 10. But Raskin is not to be denied. Rolls an 8 on his 2d6, plus his swordsmanship of 3 gives him an 11. That's a hit, causes a wound. We get a bad guy token again, and that means a rat's going to move forward. The next closest is going to be that rat in the top, and he is close enough to the kid to be able to move in and attack, which is no bueno. Rat rolls a 7 on his d8, giving him a total of 9, and the kid rolls a 5 on 2d6, minus his 2 gives him a 3. The rat triples the kid's defense. Not terribly surprising. Kid takes a wound. Next activation, we're back to the good guys. I see no reason not to give Raskin all these attacks. Strikes again with his trusty hammer. This time gets a 10 to the rat's defense of 9. The rats are rolling kind of hot. Thankfully, Raskin's +3 to attack is doing the business, and he puts another wound on the lead rat. Last bad guy activation of the round. The rat in the south moves over to be adjacent to Raskin. Can't attack diagonally, but everyone's going to be in the mix next round. Speaking of next round, tokens go back in the bag. We draw a token, and it's the good guys. That means it's hammer time for Raskin. He scores a 9 to the rat's 5, takes the last wound away from the lead rat. It goes down. All right, third of the way there. Just got to go rescue that kid. We get another good guy token. All right, this is my opportunity. I'm going to try and break away from the Ratman in the south and move into contact with the Ratman attacking the kid. The southern Ratman gets to try and attack me as I go, but he only scores a 2 on the d8, giving him a 4. I roll 2d6, get a 6. My brawn of +1 gives me a 7. I am okay. I can continue my move. Unfortunately for my attack on the Ratman attacking the child, I score a 4 plus my swordsmanship of 3 gives me a 7 versus the Ratman's defense of 9. It's a miss. However, I draw my third good guy token in a row, but still the dice are not being kind. I only end up with an 8 total, and the Ratman continued to do real well with that single d8, scoring a 9. Well, I know what's going to happen for the rest of the round. It's only the bad guy tokens in the bag, so we're going to get 3 rat attacks in a row. We start with the rat in the north, roll randomly to see who he attacks, either the child or Raskin. Turns out he's going to attack Raskin. That's good. I got a lot better defense than the kid does. Doesn't help a whole lot, though. That d8 continues to be on fire, gives the rat a total attack of 9. I only manage a 5 total. Raskin takes his first wound. Second rat activates and moves behind Raskin. Now we're attacked on both sides. Fortunately, I got eyes in the back of my head. Ratman misses 5 to 8. Third activation for the Ratman. The last Ratman is dead, so I roll randomly to see who's going to get that last activation. It's going to be the southern Ratman. Strikes again, hits me again, gets 7 to my 6. Not rolling real well. It's a new round. All the tokens go back in the bag. We draw one, and we get a bad guy activation. The rat in the north, he attacks Raskin. I determine randomly who he's attacking, Raskin or the child. I go after Raskin, which is better because I have a better defense. The rat rolls a 1 on his d8, so only ends up with a total of 3. Raskin doesn't roll great, but he does do better than that. Rolls a 5 on the 2d6, so he gets a total of 6, so he defends. It's then Raskin's turn. I'm going to strike that same guy. Again, I don't want him to turn his attention on that kid. I roll a 3 on my 2d6, so I only get a total of 6, and the rat rolls a 7, so he defends with a 9. Then we draw a bad guy token again. The rat in the south attacks. It gets an 8 versus my defense of 5. Raskin takes another wound, and I am sick of these dice. I rolled a 4 and a 3 and a 5 this round on those 2d6, and I don't like how well that d8 is rolling. We're going to swap them all out, see if the luck changes. I get an opportunity right away. We draw a good guy token. I'm going to attack that rat in the north. Yeah, a little better. Roll a 7 gives me a total of 10 to the rat's 4. Rat takes a wound. Last bad guy activation of the round. Go back to the lower rat. He's going to miss. Rolls a 7 versus my 9. Okay, I'm feeling these dice. Back to Raskin, and he lands another strike with an 11 to a 7. The rat in the north has 1 health remaining. New round, and I draw a good guy token. Just what I was hoping for. Hopefully I can kill off this rat before it has a chance to land any more hits on the kid. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out great. The rat defends with a max score of 8, so that'd be a 7 to 10. Bad guy activation, and the rat in the north gets to go again. Fortunately, he's still focused on Raskin. Unfortunately, turns out these dice are not much better than the ones before. Rat gets an 8. I defend with a 5. Raskin takes another wound. These rats are mean. I think they may have caused more damage than all the monsters in the entirety of the last adventure. Back to Raskin, and he's a little bit tired of this. Kills off the rat in the north with a massive score of 14 to 9. And he's not done yet. He draws his third good guy token, wheels to the south. I've successfully defended the villagers. Gonna finish off this last rat. Hits him with an 8v4. So we're gonna have 2 bad guy activations in a row. The rat strikes at Raskin, gets a 9 to my 4. Another 3 on the 2d6. That's not great. Raskin takes another wound. Down to half health, and here comes another rat attack. This time the rat misses. Rolls a 3 on the d8, gives him a 5, which is good because I rolled a 5 on my 2d6. Okay, these are not the dice for me. I'm going to swap them out again. Somewhere I've got some 2d6s that can do a little better. New round, and we get a good guy token. I don't love how this is going. I'm going to use a small healing potion for my first action. That's going to restore 2 health to Raskin. I've got a whole adventure after this. I need to try and keep those hit points up. Second action, he strikes at the rat. These dice are doing pretty well in their first outing. Gets me a 12 versus the rat's 4. He's almost dead. And to speed things along, we get a second good guy token in a row. Another great score, 13 versus 7, finishes off the last Skaven. I mean, Ratman. Just a quick aside for any of those interested, these Skaven models that I'm using for the Ratman are some of the oldest models that I have. I painted these a really long time ago. I have more recently painted Skaven that look a little nicer, but I like how small and dinky these guys are. The rest of the Skaven are kind of burly. The woman we've seen before, I've used her in my Zombicide Black Plague playthroughs. She's from the Mordheim Sisters of Sigmar, and the kid comes from the Bretonnian Trebuchet. One of the few models I actually had to paint up for this adventure. Anyway, Raskin the Reptile is victorious, the townsfolk were saved. Somehow we end up with a revive potion. Maybe Raskin gave himself a hero's discount in the course of the battle. You'd think everyone would be really thankful and grateful. But no, the mayor shows up and is actually kind of cheesed about the situation. Apparently they have an arrangement with the Ratman. The Ratman can come in and just steal a bunch of stuff in exchange for not just burning the town down. So now all of a sudden I'm the jerk. But not to worry, I come up with an elegant and straightforward solution. I'm just going to follow the tracks of the Ratmen back to their lair, and I'm just going to kill them all. Seems like that might solve everybody's problems. All I need are a couple of volunteers to help me out. So this is our first narrative challenge of the adventure. I have to make a guile check. Its challenge rating is 10, which is pretty high. That means I have to roll 2d6 modified by my guile, which is not great. I am not a skilled liar. It is a -1. And if I succeed, they push a shabby-looking guard in my direction, and I get to use him as a companion. The guard is not a great fighter. He's got low archery and low swordsmanship, but he has a lot of health, and he has a decent brawn, so he can definitely take a punch. He also comes with a bow, which is nice, but he is a coward, so he'll tend to run away if I'm nearby him and I get wounded. So he wouldn't be bad to have, but I need to roll an 11 or 12 on 2d6 in order to convince him to come along. So the dice come out, and again, not even close. I roll a total of a 6 minus my guile. That gives me a 5. Yeah, nobody's terribly interested in following me. Except for the woman from the marketplace. She's willing to lead me to the Ratman cave. It's nice to have the company, but her stats are bad. It might be a challenge keeping her alive. The child leaves the party, as would be expected. The woman, whose name is Jill, so I can put that at the bottom there, she also gains the skill Generous. So if I give her any items, if she leaves the party for any reason, she's going to give those items back to me. So we head out and try and sneak over to the Ratman camp. We find a little outpost with a couple of guards, but those are only lookouts. The main lair is in the cave nearby, so we have to quietly go and take out the guards before moving on. So this is another narrative challenge. We are looking at either an agility or a survival roll of 8 or more. Both my agility and survival are at +0, so it's more likely that I'm going to fail this than I'm going to pass it. And sure enough, another pretty miserable 2d6 roll gives me a total of 5. We do kill off the guards, but another Ratman that we hadn't seen notices us and runs off to warn the others. So we're going to have disadvantage on the next combat challenge, meaning in the first round of combat, they're going to get another token in the bag. If we had succeeded the challenge, we would have gotten advantage. But still undeterred, we venture into the Ratman cave, and it's not long before we come across 2 Ratman handlers dragging forward a giant weir rat. The weir rat is a beefy boy. He has got 6 health and action dice of d8 plus d6. Not only that, he has the ability Fangs and Claws, which means that whenever he causes a wound, you roll a d6, and on a 4+, he causes an additional wound. The good news is that the Ratman handlers are a little weaker than the Ratman bandits. Their action dice are only d6 plus 2. But they don't really matter that much. The combat challenge is won when we defeat the weir rat. We don't actually have to kill off the handlers. They'll just run away once a weir rat is dead. So the train goes down like that. We've got a couple of low obstacles and a couple of tall obstacles. Nothing too surprising in where the good guys and the bad guys land. Tokens go in the bag, and the bad guys get one extra, of course, because we are not sneaky. And we draw our first token, and we get a good guy one. That's not really what I wanted. It would have been nice if I had gotten a bunch of bad guy tokens first, and they would have had to have used all their actions to move forward, and maybe we could ambush the weir rat all on his lonesome in the end of the round. But what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to advance Raskin up there. I'm going to try and make it so that the weir rat is the one who gets the extra activation this round because he'll be closest to Raskin. Hopefully separate him out from his handler buddies. Next token is a bad guy token, so the weir rat is the closest to one of my guys, so he moves forward like that, moving his 4 squares. Then we get a good guy token, and why waste time? I'm going to activate Raskin. He's going to charge in there with his hammer. On his attack roll, it gets a pretty good result, a total of 12. Weir rat rolls a d8 plus a d6, which is pretty swingy, but he gets a pretty low average roll of 7. Can't defend, takes a wound. Good start. Next activation is a bad guy, and so that middle handler is next closest to one of my guys, so he's going to close in on Raskin. The other handler then goes with another bad guy activation. He's a little bit closer to Raskin than he is to Jill, so he moves in as well. Good guy activation again. Raskin the Reptile gets to go, strikes again. Another nice score, 13 to a very bad roll from the weir rat. He rolls a 6 to defend, takes another wound. Good job, Raskin. And the final token in the bag is a bad guy token, so the weir rat is the closest guy to one of my people, so he gets the extra activation. Rolls his d8 plus d6, only gets a 5. Raskin does real well defending with a 9. Tokens are back in the bag. Bad guys no longer get advantage, so it's just 3 to 3. We start off with a bad guy, so that's going to be the weir rat again. This is a real bad roll for everyone concerned. The weir rat rolls a 3. So a 3 on d8 plus d6, which is great because Raskin only manages to get a 3 on 2d6 himself. Still, that gives him a total of 4. Any landing you can walk away from. And then we're going to draw 3 good guy tokens in a row. So 3 hammer strikes come down on the weir rat's head. First one is a 14 versus 8. Another hit point gone from the weir rat. Second attack does well again. Weir rat only defends with a 3. I strike with a 10. When the dice behave, that +3 swordsmanship really shines through. Weir rat's up to 4 wounds, but then I go and miss. Roll a 3 on my 2d6, gives me a 6. The weir rat also defends with a 6. Can't really complain though, I think this challenge is almost won. Next bad guy action, a handler moves into Raskin's flank and attacks. Rolls pretty well, gets a 6 on the d6, giving him a total of 8, but Raskin defends with a total of 10. Hanging in there, guy. Final bad guy activation, and that last handler can't really get around that whole mess, so he moves over to Jill. Just ward him away, Jill, I've almost got this taken care of. New round, bad guys go first. Roll randomly to see who goes first, the weir rat or the handler attacking Raskin. Turns out it's the weir rat, and I think he might be a little mad at me. Scores a 10 with his dice. Raskin can't defend with a 5. Takes a point of damage, then we roll to see if he takes an extra hit point. The 4+ comes up, and we do. Ouch, 2 points of damage to Raskin. Good guy token, and Raskin strikes back, gets a 12 to the weir rat's 10. 1 more point of damage to the weir rat. It is on 1 health left. We draw a bad guy token, but I'm not too worried about this. The handlers have much weaker action dice. What are they going to do? We start with the handler attacking Raskin because he's closest. Rolls a 4, gets a total of 6. No big deal, I can defend against this. No, I can't. Only managed to get a 5, and Raskin goes down to 4 health. We get a good guy token, and I'm a little worried about what Raskin's looking at here. Didn't expect to get stabbed by one of those handlers, so I'm going to use my second small healing potion. Heal myself up 2 wounds. Didn't expect to go through so many of these. For my second action, I go and take a strike at the weir rat. I do okay. I roll a 6, gives me a total of 9, and the weir rat flubs its defense, rolls a 3. Its last wound goes away. Raskin the Reptile is victorious again. The handlers both run away, and I get 5 wealth. So Raskin is a little beat up, but we are pushing on into the Ratman cave. Fortunately, we come to the final room, and it's the throne room. There's a robed rat near the throne, and he introduces himself as Mazar. He also has 2 Ratman bandit bodyguards. Mazar himself is pretty tough. He's got 4 health, and his action dice are d6 plus 3. At first I thought that made him weaker than the other Ratmen, but having worked out the averages, he is exactly the same as the bandits, and they did a number on me the first time I fought him. He also shoots lightning. He has the chain lightning ability. It's range 5, and it also targets a hero within 3 squares when it targets someone. And unlike the last challenge, we can't just beat up Mazar, we have to finish off all these guys. The train pushed Mazar a little forward in the top. Random placement of the heroes means Jill's facing Mazar and Raskin is in the south. I'm not sure at this point if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I may need Jill to start taking some hits for me, but she might die if Raskin can't move through the opponents that he's facing and get around to where they're at the north. Both sides get 3 tokens. We draw a good guy token, which again isn't great, but I decide there's no time to waste. Raskin has to move forward his full 4 squares. I draw another good guy token, which is not what I want. I decide I'm going to move forward Jill. I'm a little worried that if I send Raskin in alone, he's going to get overwhelmed, so Jill's going to try and distract Mazar a little bit. She moves forward and takes cover behind the throne, the thinking being that since Mazar can move forward and zap her pretty much no matter where she is, she might as well get that -1 to hit. What I of course didn't think about is that if she gets zapped, then Raskin is also going to get zapped. I maybe should have spread him out a little bit. So yeah, sure enough, we get a bad guy token, and so it's going to be Mazar because he's closest. He advances to get Jill in range. He rolls a pretty respectable 5 on his d6. His combat modifier of 3 brings that up to 8. -1 for cover will bring it to 7. Thankfully, Jill rolls real well. Rolls a 10 on the 2d6, -2 for her brawn, gives her an 8. She defends the attack. Unfortunately, it does chain over to Raskin, so we make a separate attack against him. Mazar again goes and rolls a 5, giving him an 8. But Raskin's up to the task, rolls a 7 to defend, +1 for his brawn gives him an 8. 8v8 means that he defends it. Glad we wore the insulated armor. Another bad guy token comes out, and the lower Ratman moves in to threaten Raskin. We then get our last good guy token, and I decide I'm going to do something a little bit different. I did not like getting zapped. I'm going to move forward with Jill, and I'm going to lock this rat in combat. So Jill can't get flanked because of that piece of terrain to the south. Mazar can't move away because bad guys just don't. And hopefully she can just stay in combat and survive his relatively weak attacks. Again, they're actually about the same as the other bandits. We'll see how it goes. Last Ratman bandit moves forward to support his buddy, and all the tokens are back in the bag, new round. Token is drawn, we get a good guy token. Alright, Raskin has to put on some speed. I have to stomp my way through these 2 Ratman bandits and go save Jill. Unfortunately, I roll a 3 on my 2d6 with my first attack. It's a 6. Ratman defends with a 6 of his own. Still, can't get dispirited. I get a good guy token to follow that up. This time I get a wound through with a 13 to an 8. And why not one more for good measure? Another good roll of 14 versus 10. I'm rolling well, Rat's rolling well, but my skill is better. So now it's going to be 3 bad guy activations in a row. We start with Mazar. Mazar really likes rolling 5s on the d6, gets a total of 8, but Jill is just being a champ. I may have underestimated her. Rolls an 11 to defend, -2 because of the brawn, but that's still a 9. Over to the Ratman attacking Raskin. Raskin easily defends the first hit, 5 to a 7. The final rat then goes to move into flank, and that one slips through my defenses. Ratman rolls an 8, I get a total of 6. Take a wound, down to half health. New round, tokens go back in the bag. We draw a bad guy token first, and I randomly determine who's going to take it. It's going to be the rat fighting to Raskin's front. Rat goes and misses a 5 to an 8. Gotta love that mercenary armor. And then we get a good guy token. So I'm not really sure what the best strategy is here. I could kill off the Ratman in front of me, but that gives the possibility of Mazar at the top getting additional actions in a round, which I don't really want. I could spread out the damage so that Raskin is taking more attacks. I could even give an attack to Jill, see if she can't chip a wound off of Mazar. I'm not really sure what my thinking was. I probably should have struck the rat to Raskin's flank, but I just want to kill off guys. So I aim an attack from Raskin to the wounded Ratman, kill him off with a result of 10 versus 6. It's satisfying, but I'm not sure it was the right call. We draw a bad guy token and we get Mazar this time. So Jill's luck finally comes to an end. Mazar gets a hit through, getting a 7 versus Jill's defense of 3. Ouch. Final bad guy token goes to the flanking rat in the south. He misses Raskin, getting a 5 to my 6. And then we've got 2 more good guy tokens. Alright, I need to churn through this last Ratman to the south. Go help out Jill. And Raskin is up to the task. Gets 2 wounds onto that rat. First one is a 9 versus a 7. Second one is a 14 versus 6. Looking good. New round, tokens back in the bag, and we draw a good guy token. So if I activate Raskin and kill off this Ratman, that means that Mazar is going to get all 3 attacks. That is not great, but if I draw a couple of good guy tokens in a row, I might be able to get Raskin in that combat. I think I'm better off sticking with the original plan. Raskin goes and strikes the rat, taking the last wound 7 to 6, and then he moves 4 squares. I'm coming. Hang in there, Jill. So I'm looking for a good guy token, but I don't get it. Mazar goes ahead and attacks, stabs another point onto Jill, 8 to 4, and then we get another bad guy token right after that. Mazar doesn't roll particularly well, but he still gets a 6 to Jill's 4. This is bad news. She is on 1 health remaining. Finally draw a good guy token. I could try and run Jill away, but she's probably gonna die in the attempt. I need to move Raskin in, start putting down some wounds on Mazar, and hopefully that'll distract him. Moves forward behind the Ratman wizard. First attack is true. I get a mighty 13 versus Mazar's 5. We then follow that up with another good guy token again. Strikes another point off of Mazar, get a 9 versus his 6. Looking strong. Last token in the bag is a bad guy token. That means we've got Mazar roll randomly to see who he attacks, and he's going after Jill. Dang it. Mazar goes and rolls a 6, but Jill comes through like a champ, rolls an 11, total of 9, but that's still enough. Come on, Jill, you might make it through this yet. All the tokens go back in the bag, and with a good set of draws, I might be able to kill off Mazar before he gets a chance to attack Jill again. Unfortunately, we draw a bad guy token, so back to Mazar, but he goes and attacks Raskin this time. That's fine. Raskin has the health, he has the armor. Mazar rolls a 7, I roll a 7 to defend. So far so good. Draw another token, it's another bad guy token, and not only that, he goes and attacks Jill. Dang it. And he rolls a 6 on his d6. Double dang it, that gives him a total of 9. I rolled Jill's defense, and I am thrilled. I see a bunch of dots on the dice, but when I add it up, it gives me a total of 10. With Jill's -2 brawn, that gives her a total of 8. 9 versus 8, Jill takes another wound. Down she goes. Raskin does not have the luck with keeping his companions alive. He is so distraught by this that when we go and draw a good guy token for the next activation, he goes and misses Mazar. In fact, he rolls double 1s, giving him a total of 5 to Mazar's 8. Raskin doesn't like to show it, but he's a sensitive guy. He gets sad. Good guy activation again, and he steals himself. This time he gets a 10 versus Mazar's 4, puts a point of damage on Mazar. Great, Mazar has 1 wound remaining. And a third good guy activation in a row, over to Raskin. Let's see if we can finish this combat. He rolls another double 1. Mazar barely defends with a 6. Clearly, all these losses are taking a toll on poor Raskin the Reptile. Mazar gets the last activation for the round. Mazar also misses, 4 versus 8. We go on. New round, bad guy token. Mazar senses an opportunity, rolls a max 9. Raskin can't defend it with a 5. He takes another wound. This is getting close. Good guy activation though. Raskin the Reptile gets his head on straight, rolls a 7 plus a swordsmanship, gives him a total of 10. Mazar defends with a 7. Not enough, takes his last wound. Mazar falls. Good riddance, you jerk. So the combat challenge is over. Now, technically Jill isn't dead. She is only defeated. She can be revived later on so long as Raskin is still alive. At the end of the combat challenge, it also says that a companion gets a potion of invisibility. I don't see why Jill couldn't get that. Raskin finds it, tucks it into her pocket. Sort of a sorry you got hit on the head gift. Raskin himself gets a magic robe, which would be nice if he wasn't such an idiot at magic. In order to use it, he has to identify it, which is an arcane check, and a high arcane check at that. Needs to get a 10. And since Raskin's arcane is 0, that means he needs boxcars in order to figure this thing out. He does not. On the plus side, he can just keep it in his inventory and try again every time there's a little camp icon after a challenge. So who knows, maybe one day he'll luck out or he'll find a smarter companion, and then he'll get a fancy looking robe that can save him from death. But with all this looting, Raskin the Reptile has failed to pay attention with what's going on with Mazar. Turns out he's not as dead as he looks. He drags himself over to the throne and then mutates into a big tentacly monster. These evil wizards and their shape changing. It's a new combat challenge. The tentacly monster has 6 health and action dice of D8 plus D4. So pretty swingy dice. The average is actually a little bit lower than Mazar's, but it definitely has a higher top value. It also has a range 4 tentacle attack that, if it hits, drags it towards the monster and it gets a free attack action. Because of this dragging attack that it has, and the fact that I can kind of put it wherever I want to adjacent to the throne, I'm not really going to worry about the exact placement of these models. We're both going to get into contact with each other really quick. As it turns out, Raskin gets the first activation, so he moves in and strikes at new mutant Mazar. Starting off strong, we roll a 13 to Mazar's 9, and we put a wound on it. 5 more to go. Mazar strikes back, gets a 5. Raskin defends with a 7, and it's back to Raskin. Raskin strikes another wound onto new Mazar, 12 versus 7. Should have stayed dead, jerk. Just to drive the point home, we get our third activation in the round, strike another wound onto him. Great round, 10 versus 5, half health for Mazar. Mazar gets the next 2 activations. First one misses, 5 to 11. Raskin can't be stopped. Uh-oh. Then Mazar hits me, gets a 9 versus my 5. End of the round and I'm down to 3 health. That's a little bit of a concern. Although it's pretty unlikely, it is possible that Mazar gets the next 3 activations in a row, and if they all hit and wound, then I lose. I'll just die. Sure enough, new round and Mazar gets the first activation. Fortunately, he only rolls a 5 to attack, and Raskin easily defends with a total of 9. Cool, that means that Mazar isn't going to kill me this round. But he does get the second activation after that, and this time he strikes true, gets a good 10 versus my 8. I'm down to 2 health. I do have 1 small healing potion left, but I better see how my attacks go this round. I mean, I could just kill him off and it won't matter. Unfortunately, I roll a 9 for my first attack and Mazar defends with 11. Man, those are some swingy dice. So I'm not going to kill off Mazar this round. Still, I think I'm going to press my luck, not drink the healing potion. I get the second activation, put his 4th wound on him with a 9 versus 6. Bad guy token is drawn next, and he misses, which is great. Rolls a 5 to my 10. Final activation of the round is going to be Raskin. Again, if I wanted to be safe, I would take that healing potion. But I'm going to press my luck. I go and strike Mazar, do pretty well. 8 to 4. Another wound on Mazar, he's got 1 health left. So new round, can I take away Mazar's last point of health before he takes away 2 of mine? The first activation can decide it. We draw a good guy token, which is fantastic. We roll the 2d6, get an 8, giving me a total of 11. D8 plus D4 results in a 7. Not enough. Mazar, you're dead. I hope this time it is a little bit more permanent than last. So the Ratman camp has been cleared, the village has been saved, Mazar has been defeated. Raskin the Reptile gets 10 wealth and 2 skill points. We carry Jill back to town, make sure she gets the credit she deserves. I'm also going to spend 6 wealth to revive her. I could have used my revive potion, but 6 wealth is less. And as far as I can tell, she stays as a companion. I can take her to the next adventure. Sounds like a deal. Now that the townsfolk seem to like us, I can buy a couple things at the marketplace. I'm going to give Jill the magic robe. Hopefully we can wash the smell of wounded rat out of it, make it a little bit more presentable. I go and buy 2 more small healing potions to replace the ones that I used in this adventure. I keep 1, I give the other one to Jill. I've also gone up to level 2 mercenary. That means I get to choose 1 of 2 skills. The second one is primal rage, which is pretty good, but I don't really see Raskin as being a real angry guy. He's not a barbarian, so I choose the second one, second wind. Once per combat challenge, I can make an additional action for free. I don't think that's a great deal right now. You can only do 1 of each kind of action once during any particular activation. But in later levels, there are going to be actions that cost 2 actions, so it might be good if Raskin can move and do a 2-action, for example. It's a strategic choice. Anyway, I was a little bit nervous about how much damage I took in this last adventure, so I'm going to put both my skill points into health. So my starting health is now 12, and I put both of the advancements in the subcategory of brawn, so his brawn goes up to +2. Hopefully that'll keep him healthy. So yeah, combat-wise, Raskin's still doing pretty well. He's still kind of a dummy at everything else, but he can dish out the punches, and now he can take them as well. Thanks for watching. That game was a lot harder than the first one. And there are a bunch more of these that I want to get to. Further adventures of Raskin and Jill. So leave a comment below if you have any questions, observations, or concerns, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.